So if you take a perceptive step back and look at the whole of history, recent history, or even last week, you will see that there is a lot more unfairness, pain, and disappointment in the world than good things happening. We all seem to always be going through some kind of difficult labyrinth. Any good things that happen to us seem to be like a rat experiment, where we cross a gamut of difficult experiences and then get a piece of cheese, so we think that we've done a good job and have been rewarded for something, when, just like mice, we're just being duped into thinking that we know what is going on, and since we are sitting around for some brief moment in time with a smile on our faces and money in our pockets, we know what is going on and we are playing the game right. Well, in fact, we are playing the game right. But stop. Think. It is a game, and we're the subjects of this game, which is made to look like a game, but is actually a rat experiment on us. So think about it for a minute. When we conduct experiments on rats, we do reward them in the end with a piece of cheese in order to encourage them to live for another day to be experimented on. The rat feels good for a job well done, but never questions the experimenters. So we are left with the idea that some entity is experimenting on us or with us. They create situations that we go through and see how far they can push us. They create civilizations, and then they mysteriously disappear in order to create new ones with new parameters and see what they do. I mean, when you look at some ruins of structures thousands of years old with train box car-sized stones derived from no place close to the standing structure, that are fitted together and carved like only powerful lasers and computer-controlled tolerance can only do, with our understanding of technology and physics, doesn't it make you wonder even a little bit about higher intelligence intervening? When I taught in design school, I would give my students the same design problem, and they would come up with many versions of solutions to that problem. For a while, I experimented with some students in a multidisciplinary class and gave them 10 minutes to come up with 10 new designs for t-shirts that had never been t-shirts before. Now, I'm not talking about different kinds of artwork on t-shirts, but different shapes and concepts of t-shirts. To my surprise, in 10 minutes, there they were. All the 10 students came up with 10 different new, never-seen-before t-shirt designs. 100 new t-shirts. Then I took one of the t-shirts and asked them to come up with 10 versions of that one in 10 minutes. Lo and behold, there they were, 10 more designs per student, 100 more new versions of that one design from the first batch of 100. The point of this example is when you look at what we call evolution, it looks to me like a big design problem given out to a bunch of students. They come up with never-ending solutions to even the simplest of existing designs. When undersea marine biologists go deep into the ocean bottom, they always discover new versions of creatures every time, like the Dumbo octopus. It's like somebody looked over the shoulder of someone else designing an elephant and said, maybe I can adapt that to my octopus design. Now, I'm not agreeing with the holy roller crowd about intelligent design as they depict it, because they are still stuck on the benevolent God concept. However, I do think that it is entirely possible for there to be other entities from another dimension or somewhere using DNA as well as other elements of physics to design all kinds of things, and they have been doing it for millions of years. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there isn't some kind of natural selection in evolution in the everyday dimensions we live in. But I am saying that I think that something or someone from another dimension is tweaking it here or there. And if they really want to change, they destroy everything and start over. And they do. At this point, anyone semi-conscious might say, wait a minute, is there any way to be set free from this paradigm of being controlled and being the subject of this great experiment? I mean, after watching this, and if I were to agree with you, I don't like the idea of being controlled like this.
Tonight's talk is consciousness, creativity, and the brain. And if you have a golf ball-sized consciousness, when you read a book, you'll have a golf ball-sized understanding. When you look out, a golf ball-sized awareness. And when you wake up in the morning, a golf ball-sized wakefulness. But if you could expand that consciousness, then you read the book, more understanding. You look out, more awareness. And when you wake up, more wakefulness.
There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter.
You know, people look through their eyes and they think this is the world, but it isn't. It's a tiny, tiny frequency range within an infinite energy field of infinite frequency ranges.
So what can I do to escape this situation? Or to escape this situation, we need to learn how to unplug from the fads and the supposed tos and everything else that we have been spoon-fed since birth. We have been mechanically conditioned, continually conditioned through peer pressure, our parents, schools, media, friends, and anything else. Some things are the result of others trying to intentionally control us, and some things are the way they are simply because they have been a certain way for so long, and they are what they are. Just like some buildings are still standing not because they are structurally sound, but because they have been there that way for so long that the dust and dirt got into crevices and have kept them standing. In other words, we have to get away from the kinds of sayings we get from the media that says, join the crowd and get away from it all. The good news is that with some conscious effort, we can see behind the smoke and mirrors and begin to see the truth about things. Also, sometimes, even though we may not know what something is, we can know when something is not. And that's a good start. The bad news is that we are addicted to our illusions, and we need to see that. The experimenters use our addictions and will constantly throw obstacles in our way to divert us. They don't want us to become aware of the fact that we are their rats, and they will do anything to distract us. The only tool that we have in our favor is becoming more conscious of this and develop the will to stay on course in our minds to complete our thoughts and investigations on these matters. One might ask, what about evil in the world? Well, on the level of the rat's dimensional world, it appears like evil, just like someone pouring water down an anthole to see what the ants will do. But from the dimension of the experimenters, it could purely be an experiment to see how we, the ants or rats, will respond. Remember, just because something has more control over us doesn't make them more compassionate or benevolent, or evil for that matter. It just might be that our experiment of life might be the first form of compassion in the universe. After all, everything in the universe has to have a first time somewhere and in some place, so why not us, now? So in order to get out of this rat maze, we need to see what it is in ourselves that is mechanical. We need to see how we are a stimulus-response machine. How we can go beyond our mechanicality. We need to learn how to think out of the box and work together in ways to find answers that we can only find as a collective and not just as one individual. There are many people who have achieved a certain level of consciousness and power, but either they haven't acquired that consciousness with the idea of sharing that power equally, or they have been seduced by it and use it to their advantage for personal gain. These people who gain consciousness and power and use it for their own personal gain are called hasnomiths. They use conscious power for material or sexual advantage over others. They give others incomplete information so that they can maintain their advantage. This is the greatest tool that the experimenters use to control us. So even though people are trying to wake up from their illusions, they put into place those who take well-intentioned people and redirect them with all kinds of smoke and mirrors. Gurus who promise health, wealth, and powers. They take well-intentional goals and twist them into selfishness using spiritual words and principles. These too need to be avoided if you want to escape the rat maze. It is also important to realize that conditions we are living in is like a prison. Years ago, I had the opportunity to design a jail. It was an unpleasant experience, but being a young architect, it was an opportunity to see how things work, just like Leonardo da Vinci used to examine dead bodies to see how they work. But the thing that was interesting to me at the time was that they had found that they had to design prisons so that there were more activities that would distract the prisoners from remembering they were in prison. Why? Because there was a prisoner who had escaped from jail using comet and dental floss to saw through the bars. People asked, how could someone have the patience to do such a thing? And the answer was, they had nothing else to do, and they were reminded that they were in prison every day, so all they could think about was getting out. So we have a similar problem, except the experimenters are way ahead of our psychology and have designed our prison with a beautiful view, so we forget and get distracted with enough cheese to make us less interested in escape. It is only through a certain few that have suffered long enough and often enough that remember to try and escape and persist no matter how much cheese is placed in front of them. So in order to escape from our jailers or experimenters, we have to see how we are organic stimulus response machines. By learning about our mechanical habits and choices, we can begin to be set free. If you would like to learn how to be set free from your mechanicality and work together, you can learn more by getting my book, Why Anything Anyway, on Amazon.com.